So Power Sink Stone is a really interesting continuous trap card that has an effect really similar to Skill Drain. By the way, this Floodgate is extremely old as we had it since Starstrike Blast, which actually came out in 2010. But yeah, basically this card prevents monsters on the field from activating their effects and also negates their effects. With that being said, this effect only applies while you have 2 Spellstone counters on this card. And you add 1 counter to this card whenever a monster effect is activated on the field and on the resolution of that. Clearly, this card is worse than Skill Drain because it actually requires setup to be used, unlike Skill Drain, which can actually be used at any point. But you can actually argue that to a certain extent, it's somewhat better than Skill Drain because your opponent can't really play around it. So for example, with Skill Drain, your opponent can go into like Tornado Dragon and then use the effect to try to destroy the Skill Drain and then Ghost Ogre himself or Book of Moon it. But with Power Sink Stone, this is completely impossible since monsters cannot activate their effects on the field, so you can't even try to do that. And honestly, I have to admit that I'm actually really fond of this kind of card design in Yu-Gi-Oh! The trap is simultaneously both better and worse than Skill Drain, which was historically speaking one of the most hated cards in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's also kind of inherently fair by design because at least it kind of gives your opponent a chance to use 2 effects before it starts hurting him. But at the same time, not really because the counters actually count both players' effect activations. So for example, I could be the one to set Power Sink Stone and then flip it on my opponent's draw phase and then use 2 monster effects myself, and then my opponent can't use anything. And on the flip side, my opponent could actually be the one using 2 monster effects and then I can't use my own monster effects. So this card actually encourages interaction and reflection, which again Skill Drain doesn't. You might be forced to do some maths or some concessions or some pretty long-term decisions because it's gonna bite you in the end if you don't really play around your own card. And if you are on the receiving end, it's not gonna be the end of the world because at least there's some way to navigate around it. Whereas unfortunately with Skill Drain, it's kind of like better have the out or else you die. I'm a big fan of cards that can be countered with playstyle instead of necessarily being forced to draw a specific card. But yeah, this card really reminds me of the old school field spells, you know? Back in the days, they actually helped and hurt both players, and this is actually quite similar. Overall, I would love to see the day where this card completely replaces Skill Drain, but it's never gonna happen. Unless the card gets banned and this card really gets pushed. Smash the like button if you want Skill Drain to get banned. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.